Hey everyone. Yeah. Um Sorry there, just getting a drink of coffee. Yeah, it's kind of an interesting morning right now. I mean, exactly about how do I put this? Exactly about um 12 hours and literally about almost 20 minutes ago. I mean, not 12 hours, but literally about 7 hours and 20 minutes ago. Um yeah, it's about that. I had gotten off work. And now in about 1 hour and 72 minutes, or around 70 minutes, I'm going to be working again. At least I think I am. You might say to yourself, well, aren't they supposed to give you a little bit more time than that? You would think they would, but they're not. They're not, giving us a little bit more time. Excuse me. They're not giving us, you know, a little bit more time than we thought. And the reason for this mainly, folks, is because it doesn't just affect me. It doesn't just affect me. It affects a lot of the other associates and other managers and associate managers, department managers, CSM managers, all of them. And here's why. It's all because of the fact that we are entering into we're basically entering into what is known as the holiday shopping season. And what that means, folks, and I'm kind of adjusting the mic here, so I apologize. But what that means, folks, is a lot of things are going to be changing. A lot of things are changing. And basically, one of the changes is the fact that schedules are going to be a little different. Now, normally in retail, you're supposed to have 2 days off. I mean, that's with any job, obviously. You're supposed to have 2, maybe 3 days off at most, depending on your job and depending on how you work and your hours. You're supposed to have 2 days off exactly, or 3 days off at most. But that's not the case here. Instead, I'm off at different times, and I'm looking at my schedule right now, and yes, I am scheduled for an 8:30 clock in and a 12:30 lunch. That's the only advantage, is I can come home. Then I'm off tomorrow. So yeah, that's the only advantage I have. And then I do a 7-hour day on Thursday, and then I do a 4-hour day on Friday, and then I don't have to be at work until a half hour into the evening on the weekends. And that's the upcoming week. And it's got less hours altogether for that week than this one does. I mean, yeah, they are throwing in a few hours here and there, but, you know, that's to be expected. But they're working it out to where now in the next week's schedule, I'll be okay. Same with the week going into October. Yeah, I'm just looking, making sure. And I understand how some people may be like, well, why do stores do this? And again, it's like I said, it's because of the fact that we're in the holiday season. We're in that holiday shopping season. This is the most important shopping season of the year. And it really gets to a lot of people because it messes up schedules. Whoever from the home region of the store, whoever's in charge of the home region, they sometimes don't communicate too well with those at the stores that set up these schedules. With me and with even some of the managers, it's like, what is going on? I'll give you an example. This past Saturday, I walk in there, okay? I walk in, and I think this past Saturday, I think it was Saturday, I believe. Let me check just to make sure, but this past Saturday, I did 9:30 in the morning. I go in there, and someone that was a CSM and is now mostly a managing supervisor, an MS as they call it, or department manager, is back to CSMing. And then someone else who's also now a department manager, an MS, in the bread department, is also CSMing. And they're like, and the girl lady that tells me that's CSMing in the morning, she tells me she's not even supposed to be doing that anymore. And I can understand that. But here's why this happened. You see, basically, it's all the scheduling. It's basically all the scheduling. You know, they basically did not have somebody officially scheduled to CSM until about 4:30 that afternoon. Officially. They did not have somebody scheduled to CSM. Instead, what they had was an opener and a closer. That was it. And then I mentioned this to another CSM the next day, which was Sunday, this past Sunday, and they say, oh, well, that's basically how it's supposed to be. Okay, got to take the word for that. But still, it's like, you know, why? And I'm sorry if you heard a little thrum in the background. I don't know what that was. But still, the question is, why? Why do that? Why schedule it that way? And I'll tell you what it is. It's all about the fact that we're heading into that shopping season. Here's a few things that have occurred. This past week or so, we've started up layaway. And I didn't know that this past work week, not this one, but this past work week, associates could start laying away stuff. I did not know that. But yet layaway has officially started this week. And it runs for the next 3 months. Okay, I can understand that's one reason. I can also understand that it's now football season. And we're entering into baseball playoff season. Okay, I can understand all that. I can also understand that Halloween is next month. I can understand all that. But here is what I don't understand. You would think that corporations like my job, retail corporations like my job, my company, and others just like it, would be ready for this kind of experience. They would be ready to have the schedule set and ready to go for all associates and managers so they do not miss a beat. But they don't. And that's what pisses off a lot of people at my job. I mean, look at me. Like I said, I worked 5 to midnight last night, and now I'm working, this morning, and now I'm working today from the morning to the late afternoon. The only advantage is I can come home during my lunch, eat lunch here, take my shoes off if I want to, and then go back on my bike, courtesy of my bike, back to work. I can do that. I can literally go and do that. So basically, as I've said before, it makes me feel like I'm going to work for the first time. I'm basically starting my first shift of the day because basically I've gone home and I'm relaxing, and it's basically I'm not even looking at my job. I'm just like, I just gotta get ready to go to work. That's all. It's kind of like what I'm doing now. But the point that I'm making is because we're into this new part of the season, because we're basically in what is known as the fourth quarter of business. We are basically, from a sports perspective, we are in the home stretch. We are in the final innings. We are in the 9th inning stretch. We are in the final quarter. That is the reason all this is happening. I mean, tomorrow's my only day off. But it's work week, if you can believe that. Tomorrow's my only day off. And then I have to do 7 hours on Thursday and then 4 hours on Friday. Which I don't have a problem with because, again, just like today, Thursday I'll be able to come home have lunch, and then go back to work. I don't have a problem with that. I really don't. But you see, a lot of things are confusing people now because of what's going on. A lot of things are confusing people. They really are. They're really confusing people. The only other 8-hour shift that I'm going to have after today is going to be the following Monday. And that's going to be basically very late morning, early afternoon into prime time, if you know what I mean. And that's it. Again, the only advantage is I'll be able to come home around mid-noon or mid-afternoon and have lunch before my mom even shows up. But again, that to me is the disadvantage. If you know what I mean. That is a huge disadvantage because except for tomorrow being my only day off, I've got to work. Basically, I'll be working Saturday, Sunday, Monday, today, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday. Basically, 9 days out of 10. 9 out of 10 days. And all because we're entering into the home stretch of the holiday season. We're entering into the home stretch of this year. And that is what worries a lot of people at my job. It's like, what is going on? Now, I do understand that we have new people being hired. New cashiers, new cart pushers, new sales associates, unloaders. I get that. And yes, they do need to do what is known as the CBLs, the computer training programs for the jobs that they've been hired for specifically. I get that. I understand they have to shadow people like me and other cashier associates to learn what to do so they don't make mistakes. I get that too. But even if that's the case, you still need to schedule things correctly. I mean, this is what's driving everybody crazy. I mean, yesterday, the CSM that closed was there from 4:30 to 12:30. Okay, fine, 7 hours, no big deal, right? But here's the problem. I don't know who she depended on, but she had to depend on somebody to take her place for about an hour, or at least a half hour. Why? Because there was no CSM scheduled to come in. Well, actually there was, but it was a to be announced. Here's how the scheduling thing goes. Sometimes I'll work in the smoke shop area, the smoke shop cashier, which is, I think, 13, register 13. I'll work in there. I'll work that register, and I'll look at the schedules, and there'll be nobody sometimes scheduled. I mean, they'll have, like, the people listed scheduled for the positions, but then sometimes they'll have an opening, and there'll be, a time frame of a schedule, like maybe 5:30 to 9:30 or whatever, and nobody's name will be there. Basically, it's an opening. It's like, what the hell, right? It's like, what is this? And it's all because of the fact that they do not have the minds on straight. They do not have the minds on right. And I'm not trying to be insulting. I'm not trying to say anything bad. It's just that they don't have the minds on straight. They don't have the thinking caps on. They need to start realizing, okay, we're entering into this portion of the year, the most important and busiest shopping season of the year, or shopping period of the year. We need to get our act together. We really do. And there are some people whose names, mine's probably one of them, I just don't know it yet. I'm saying mine might be one of them, and I just don't know it yet, that are going to be trained to do layaway. And not a lot of people are looking forward to that. You know why? I'll tell you from experience. Last year, when I was just a customer, I wasn't even working, me and my mom laid away a sound system for our HD TV. Why? Because she wanted to get the full experience of HD, or she wanted to get the full experience of certain channels. She doesn't really use it that much right now, but you get the idea. So anyway, we lay that away. And some of the times we've laid it away and we've gone to make payments on it, there's been a heck of a line, and they haven't had that many people. I can specifically remember Demi and Tony. I remember this specifically were the ones in the back area getting some of the stuff, getting the stereo for me and my mom, or getting not the stereo, but getting the sound system for me and my mom, because we were finally paying it off. And I remember there was a line, and some people were impatient. It's kind of like right now with us doing WIC and all that. People are impatient. They just don't get it, if you know what I mean. They just don't get it. You got to be patient, and some people aren't. And it's just one of those situations right now. And again, you add that on top of the fact that a lot of things are a lot of people are being scheduled. All this is happening, and it's not really looking good on our part. Not really looking good. I mean, here's another reason. Here's another thing that makes the scheduling is messed up. When there is no communication between associate and manager. Last night, I made a mistake, and the other CSM, the closing CSM, admitted maybe she made the mistake as well because she didn't really communicate very well with me that she had basically reset the drawer. I thought she had audited the drawer. That was my thing, because they do these audits every period of the day. Morning, like afternoon, early evening, closing, close to closing. They do all the auditing. I had no idea she had reset the drawer. No idea. And she didn't communicate very well with me. And this is one of the reasons. I'm not trying to totally blame it on it, but this is what it seems to me. It's the scheduling. You see, she didn't get a proper, in a way I looked at it, she did not get a proper lunch break. Usually, she leaves and goes somewhere to eat. Maybe goes home or something, like I do. But she couldn't do that because she did not have a proper lunch break. Because they didn't give it to her. Because they didn't have nobody to cover her. It's like, what the hey? It's like, what the blankety blank hey? Like, nobody was covering for her. Nobody was there. It's like, what is going on with these people? Right? It's like, what is going on? So that affects you. Me, here I am. I did 9:30 to 2 yesterday. You think, oh, you should be well rested and everything. Yeah. You try being well rested while you have young kids, nephews, if you will, running around going cuckoo, knocking on the walls because they see the grandparents doing it, or one of the grandparents doing it. It's like, yeah, you try resting and sleeping. It's not easy. But the point is, folks, the point I'm trying to make is this. My store, my company, and other stores, retail stores like it, and companies like it, need to get their heads out of their asses. And I'm not trying to say that to be mean, but they need to get their heads out of their asses, get their minds focused on what needs to be done properly, so they can have everybody's schedule from associates to managers, up and down, from top to bottom, have them all scheduled and placed in the proper time areas and scheduled areas that they need to be in, so things will run efficiently, I should say. That's what they need to do. So that's all I'm going to say, folks. And yeah, it sounded like a bit of a rant, but you know what? I just have to get it off my chest, and I know a lot of you listening probably know what I mean and probably know how I feel. So let me know what you think down below, because honestly, folks, this is something that doesn't matter if it's my company in retail store or it's your company in retail store. They need to get their acts together, and they need to get them together now. So let me know what you guys think down below, and I'll talk to y'all later.